Welcome to On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker, here today with Kevin O'Sullivan, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Matt. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode. So Kevin, you've had a successful career in higher education leadership. What were some pivotal moments or mentors in your own journey?
I've been really lucky. That's part of the reason I've been successful, right? It involves a little bit of luck along the way. But I was also blessed with good supervisors and mentors who helped cultivate me, gave me space to make some mistakes, but also provided the mentorship to help me learn from them and give me the rope to then continue to make, decisions and learn and grow in those roles. So higher ed for me was not an initial career calling. I didn't anticipate a career in higher ed. I was a sport management major in college and, also studied finance, but I really thought I wanted to be at one point an agent or somehow work in athletics. And I had done a number of internships when I was in college, was exposed to some really cool people. My very first mentor was a guy named Ray Sherman, and he was the assistant head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And I met him during one of my internships in college, working youth football camps. And I was assigned the Green Bay camp. Now, I'm a diehard Eagles fan, so, with that aside, I was excited to go to Lambeau and see that. And Coach Sherman was the head coach of that camp at the time. And he took a liking to me, and we struck it up. And he really helped me get my first job because he was my first referral out of college for a full-time job, which was at Tracy Locke, which is a national advertising agency in Wilton, Connecticut. Okay. And I got hired there as a project manager, was working there, really enjoyed it, and had no plans on leaving. I was only there about 3 months, and I got a call on my birthday from Sacred Heart University up in Connecticut, which is where I graduated from. So it was my alma mater. God's honest truth, I thought they were asking me for a donation. I thought they were going to sing happy birthday and be like, make a donation. Because that's what my good friend Eddie Mafia would do here. And so I answer it, and it happened to be somebody from the admissions office, and they were calling to say, hey, you interviewed for a job a few months ago. And at the time we went in a different direction, but we have an opening now that I think you'd be a good fit for. And when I was graduating, I had just thrown my resume everywhere. I was trying to get hired. My dad told me at graduation, the Bank of Frank is closing, so you got to figure out how to earn a paycheck, right? And so I submitted a resume, and I didn't get that first job through them. I got hired at Tracy Locke, but then they called me and said, hey, there's this job. It was as an admissions counselor. We think you have the personality for it. We think you would really, really do well. What do you think? And at the time, just to show you how superficial I was, I actually wasn't going to pursue it because it was going to pay a little bit less than what I was already making at Tracy Locke. But I was talking to her and I was like, yeah, it doesn't pay that well. But I was like, but they offered to pay for my master's degree if I go back and I'll work for a couple of years. He's like, that would be the foolish decision you could ever make if you didn't pursue this because you were worried about a short term, a couple of pennies here on the short term to pass up a free master's. Go do it. So then I went into higher ed. I worked there I worked at Sacred Heart for a few years. What Sacred Heart failed to tell me when I took the job is, yes, they will pay for your master's, but this is 20 years ago, and not everything was so available online. So they didn't tell me, you're going to be traveling so much, you're never going to be able to go to class because you're going to be out recruiting. And so I was 2 years in at Sacred Heart and only 3 credits into the grad program, and I got promoted. And then fast forward a year later, I got promoted again. And so admissions and enrollment kind of just became this career trajectory for me that I am blessed that I fell into, but it was not my anticipated plan, right? And I had some really good mentors at the time. Karen Gastelli was the dean of admissions. Jim Barquinero was the senior vice president at Sacred Heart then, and he was the one who I think kind of developed my passion for higher ed. He was such a passionate and intense person that when I first started, I found him intimidating. But once I peeled back the layers on him and found that, yes, he was intense and yes, he was demanding, but he cared so deeply and he had a ton of knowledge and he was willing to share the knowledge with you if you sat with him and embraced it. And so he made me a really good enrollment professional. I got the opportunity to do my first director job at Berkeley College and then at Manhattanville College right here in Purchase. So I spent some time in the tri-state area. Had some good mentors there, Kathy Fitzgerald, Nick Kumar, and each of them had a unique leadership style. So I went from this really intense, hyper intense boss in Jim to a very laid back and kind of softer and supportive boss in Kathy, to an analytical boss in Nick. And I had all these different mentors, and I think I was able to take a little bit from each of them, and they helped mold me for when I got my first dean opportunity up at Sacred Heart for dean of admissions, executive director of admissions, and then ultimately prepared me for the vice president job here at Iona. And obviously here, Dr. Carey's been a huge mentor to me and provided me my first opportunity to become a vice president, and then gave me the opportunity to continue to grow and take on student affairs a little bit later on. And it's hard to believe I'm coming up on 6 years here already at Iona. So it's been great. I love it here.
That's great. No, that sounds like a nice journey that you've had, and you've had a lot of great mentors along the way, and even though you weren't planning to fall into this path, it all worked out in the end, and you were able to get that master's and ultimately be promoted. So
yeah, hopefully we're thinking about a doctorate next, so we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll stay tuned.
We're going to need a lot of divine intervention to get through the doctoral program. Blessed Edmund Rice, pray for me.
So what's one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you earlier?
I think the one piece of career advice I wish I had known earlier was to know that it's okay if you're not following the path you think you're going to pursue, right? I had this preconceived notion, I'm going to work in sports and athletics. And I went to school for sports management, so I need to work in the industry. And as I grew in this, I developed a passion and found that this was probably my calling all along, but to know that it was okay to pursue opportunities. Just because you major in something doesn't mean that's the only avenue that you can pursue. And that the benefit of going to a university like Iona that has this broad offering in the liberal arts and will give you the opportunity to pursue lots of different areas of academic study will prepare you and develop a skill set that will allow you to be successful in a ton of different areas.
No, that's great. That's great advice. So how do you see the role of co-curricular experiences in shaping students' career readiness?
To me, co-curricular experiences do a really good job of tying in what you're learning in the classroom, but applying it sometimes in practice. And I also think to my previous point about knowing that it's okay to not know what you want to do, right? So for example, co-curricular experiences, let's say you're in a sorority and you're a history major, but you take on the role of treasurer. So now in your role as treasurer, you kind of develop this passion or interest in finance because you've learned how to manage budgets, and it helps you identify that, you know what, I think I might actually like a career as a financial analyst or in the finance industry. So you've been able to take this co-curricular experience, even though you were a history major, and develop a new sense of interest in something else, right? And so it ties those opportunities together. It also does a really good job of helping you develop your social networks, right? Your networking skills, meeting people across disciplines that you might not be exposed to in your individual academic major. Some of those people may go on to become your best friends, right? A lot of times when you talk to alumni about their greatest experiences, or what was the most impactful memory or experience they have, they'll oftentimes credit their overall academic experience, how it prepared them, but many of their best experiences revolve around the friendships that they've made, and the whether it be through a particular club or organization or at a particular student life event, right? Whether that be homecoming weekend, right? A lot of people talk about that as like a keystone moment. The younger graduates may talk about the Gale Gates now. They may talk about spring weekend. They may talk about a mission trip, right? Like, think of those foundational experiences that students have.
Right.
And those tend to be some of the more meaningful experiences for students, that they form these formative friendships, right? So the networking is huge. You can develop leadership skills, right? Your communication skills, time management, organization, right? There's a lot of soft skills that are developed through co-curricular experiences. And I look at that in student affairs as our job is to help tie that together, right? You're going to get a very good education in the classroom, and you're going to be prepared to be successful when you graduate. But how do we help you develop those softer skills, and co-curricular activities can do that.
And that's why the involvement fair every semester is so important, so that maybe if you're a transfer student or a freshman, you get to see all the organizations, or even beyond freshman or transfer student. If you're a junior or a senior and maybe you didn't get involved as much, it's never too late to join something and get involved.
Absolutely. It is never too late to get involved. And it doesn't mean you have to necessarily join something, right? Go to events. Yep. Those are still, go to a basketball game. Like, there is, I would say, on campus, community building wise,
exactly,
there is a culture and a history of success, right, in basketball. And that has, in some ways, come to define us, right? See the bagpipers perform, right? What are some of the, and you will meet other people, and you will get involved without even realize you're getting involved that way. And it will make a meaningful difference. And you'll be surprised that when 10 years, 15 years later, those end up being your groomsmen and bridesmaids, and people that are pivotal in your life and are some of the most meaningful relationships that you will have as you grow and get older. And often help you develop your network as well when career opportunities may exist.
Yeah. So what trends in higher education or the job market are shaping how you lead student affairs and enrollment management?
Well, there's a lot of trends that are impacting it. I would say the most obvious right now is probably artificial intelligence, right? That's something you hear everybody talking about. So how is that incorporated? And Dr. Carey's been in front of this from really early on, opening the Gabelli Center for Teaching and Learning with a focus on AI, developing the Presidential Speaker Series, and the Provost Speaker Series, and fellowships with focuses on AI, even through our library services, right? For students, a first-year librarian who helps students research and learn how to properly notate and utilize AI in their studies, but also incorporating that across the student affairs spectrum, from admissions all the way through the life cycle, through career. I mean, career development has some really cool tools that they're utilizing for students that offer resume building, right? Consia is a software program that allows students to have their resume kind of reviewed and edited, and to see how AI scanning programs are reviewing that. We have a program called Standout, which is a mock interview program for students. So that allows students to interview in real time, and they can do it through their single sign-on, so it's a 24/7 availability to students. There's so many different ways that it's just organically incorporated through the student experience. So that's an obvious one to me. I think other trends that we're looking at in higher ed, or just the job market, that are shaping, are ensuring that we're tying our co-curricular activities to career readiness outcomes, right? What are those soft skills that employers are seeking when students are graduating? And how are we helping them develop that through their involvement in service learning trips and study abroad and club sports, performing arts, student government, fraternities and sororities, right? All those different clubs and organizations that touch the student experience, athletics, right? And so that's where we're trying to tie the correlation between the involvement, soft skills, and the things that employers are seeking.
That's great. So in your view, what's the most underrated career resource the university offers?
I think we do an excellent job of providing students tons of resources to be successful. This year alone, the Career Development Office, which is a team of 4, had over 3,200 individual appointments with students.
Wow.
So when you think about the capacity there, they're doing a ton of work. Jennifer Friery, Matt Carden, the Durrell, that team does tremendous work. But even despite those 3,200 individual appointments, we have tons of other resources for students. The mock interview program is one that I think is overlooked by students. I think they spend so much time on the resume building.
Yeah.
Right? Because in their mind, I need to be seen by employers. The mock, from my perspective, the interview preparation is more important than the resume. We're going to make sure your resume is ready to go. But you need to take advantage of the mock interview skills because we're not with you when you interview. And too often, students will rely solely on their resume that when they get to the interview, they don't do a particularly great job of being able to discuss or translate what's on their resume to how it's impacted them and how that will help them with their future role, future position. Our mock interview programs help them address that and overcome that. So it can be a really, really valuable tool, and we do that in person. And as I just mentioned, if you can't make it to some of the in-person sessions, we have this AI platform now called Standout that will allow you to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can do it on your schedule, and it can be a really, really valuable tool. So I would encourage students to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I so in the Gales Go Further course that I teach, I had introduced that to them, the Standout, and I had Jennifer and Jada come in and they walk them through it, how to use it, and yeah, I mean, I think it works great, and the fact that they can do it from anywhere, they don't have to come in person, they can do it in the comfort of their dorm room if they wanted to. It makes it really convenient.
And you can practice and practice and practice, right, until you feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an area that students, we always say control what you can control, right?
Yep.
The only one that can control the way you interact with an employer is yourself.
Yep.
So practice, you probably heard the expression, practice makes perfect. Mm-hmm. I can't promise you you'll be perfect, but I can promise you the more comfortable you get answering questions and being able to translate what's written on paper and articulate that to meaningful contributions to an employer, you will be far more successful in your interviews.
Yep.
And that requires repetition, answering it variable ways, right? And finding those correlations. So if your resume says, I was on a service mission trip, right? I participated, I went to Camp Friendship, and I did a week service learning. Okay, but what did you learn there, right? You volunteered, that was great. You developed leadership skills, right? You learned survival skills in many ways. You learned how to connect with people that are totally different from you, right? So when you're going into a corporate environment and the team dynamic is different, you need to learn how to connect with all different types of people, right? So these opportunities allowed us to do that. Perhaps I was in charge of the budget while I was there, meal money, whatever it was, coordinating things. I'm an event planner, right? I have organization, time management skills, safety trainings. And so being able to articulate those things. And then as we get into offering micro-credentials, that will be another area where students will need to be able to translate what a digital badge on LinkedIn means into how did this make me more prepared, or how am I better prepared to serve your organization, right? And so those mock interview skills will help with that.
Yeah, all great advice. So what skills do students develop through involvement in clubs, leadership, or student organizations that translate to career success?
There's a lot of different skills,
Yeah.
right? Some are soft and some are harder, right? Some are very direct and linear, and others are softer skills that are equally important to employers, right? So I've alluded to leadership and budget management, commitment to others, right? When you're serving on whether you're playing a varsity sport or a club sport, a member of the performing arts, a campus minister, student government, a fraternity, a sorority, an executive board member for a club, you have a commitment to that club, you uphold that commitment. Employers value that level of commitment, right? There's this study, this fact that Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they hire like 80% of student athletes.
Really?
And when they interviewed the CEO, I forget, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, one of the things the CEO of Enterprise said is student athletes, they know how to manage their time, they're reliable, they know how to work in a team, they have good leadership skills, they work well under tense or intense situations. And I would just draw that out a bit further and say involvement in any sort of organized or co-curricular activity, it doesn't need to be specifically an athletic team, although that's a great example, but involvement at that level to some team or organization or group requires many of those same skill sets. And it's those types of things that allow students to develop those soft skills, right? We talked about the classroom, and the faculty here do a great job of preparing students for their intended careers. And our career development team will help mold our students to prepare them for the interview process. But it's all that time in between that I look at our job in student affairs to help cultivate those skills and translate those skills.
Yeah, and that's great. So how do you see your division contributing to students' sense of purpose and direction post-graduation?
The student sense of purpose, I don't think it's just a divisional goal, right? I think when a student graduates from Iona, their sense of purpose has been instilled through them, throughout everybody on campus. It's not just the division, right? It's the word. I always tell, for people who listen, right, on campus, I'll say, everyone is an admissions counselor, right? It's not just the admissions office, right? Eddie's heard me say that from his days in admissions, but it's the entire job of the campus to help recruit the class. Similarly, it's the entire job of the university to prepare our students and instill that sense of purpose, right? We learn outside the lines, right? That's a tagline of Iona. And what that means is that we're developing those students in all facets of their life, inside and outside of the classroom. We teach our students to fight the good fight, right? We hear that. But what does that mean, right? That purpose, that sense of serving others. And so to me, it's not just the division, it's the entire campus that's developing that sense of purpose. And by doing that, it's organically happening, whether it's through our mission and ministry, right, and serving others, but that can also occur in our performing arts program, right? Our students are sharing their skills and their talents with the campus community and helping drive happiness, right? Like you're walking away feeling fulfilled by utilizing those skill sets. And so I think it's our job as a division to cultivate the gifts that our students have and the talents that our students have, allow them to share that with the community, and be able to articulate how those talents will help them better serve organizations when they leave here. And so that could be teachers in a classroom, it can be business students in the corporate world, it can be healthcare professionals demonstrating empathy when they're treating patients beyond just treating the symptom or the illness, right? A nurse is treating a person, and they develop those soft skills, those compassion skills here at Iona as well. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So if you could go back and be a student at any university, what career-focused opportunities would you be sure to take advantage of?
All of them, right? There's a broad range, but I think the Gales Go Further mentoring program is an obvious one. Why would you not want to take advantage of somebody who has gone to your institution, right? They understand the ethos of the institution. They are successful in their work, and they're willing to share their knowledge, their network with you and help you develop as a leader because they want to see you successful, right? So I'd certainly take advantage of that. I was very linear as a student. I only equated activities that I thought were going to translate directly to success. And what I should have done or taken more advantage of is hearing other perspectives and looking at things differently, right? Part of college is to challenge your mindset and help you learn alternative viewpoints and to tackle a problem differently. So part of that is to go and learn from those. So go to the guest lectures, perhaps in areas or disciplines that are not your major. The business school offers a number of these C-suite conversations where they bring in corporate leaders from across industry and talk about skill sets or leadership ideals, management scenarios. Mm-hmm. Go to those. The business etiquette dinner seems very kind of soft skill, but it's an important skill. Take advantage of it. There's so many free resources for students, or free in the sense that they're included in your cost of tuition, and you're paying a lot to go to college, so you have the ability to make the most out of it, and you're only in class 15 to 20 hours a week. So if you're here as a student, particularly if you're here as a residential student, maximize that time. Take advantage of all the free resources that are available to you. All the data suggests if you take advantage of everything we are providing you, you're going to be very successful. There is a reason why when students graduate from here, we consistently are placing our students above the national placement rate by NACE's standards, right? And consistently 5, 6, 7 points higher than the national average. Those students that are taking advantage of everything we have to offer, or a majority of the things we have to offer, are those that are going to be really successful. Mm-hmm. And for alumni, come back, right? Share your talents with us, right? We have so many successful, thousands and thousands of successful alumni. When we talk about giving back, it's not always about dollars, right? You came here, you had a great experience. Share your experiences and share your career knowledge with others, right? We need to continue to have the Gales take care of Gales mindset. So I would love to see more of our alumni come back and find ways to get involved, whether it's coming in the Gales Go Further mentoring program or offering a guest lecture or, maybe agreeing to participate in a panel or, come and offer to have a meal with a group of students at the business etiquette dinner and just sit at those tables. Maybe take a student out golfing, right? Teach them. We offer some golf lessons as part of so teach them golf course etiquette, right? Because maybe they don't, a lot of networking and there's opportunities out on the golf course to do those things. And if you have that skill set, you don't have to be a very good golfer, but you have to have the etiquette to be on the golf course and carry yourself a certain way, because that will lead to a lot of opportunities down the road. Yeah. So take advantage of those things and come back and see. If you haven't been to campus for a little while, I promise you'll be impressed with what's going on, right? I mean, we have invested a ton, not only in the facilities, but in the infrastructure and in the programming. We've launched new schools. We bought a new campus, right? Yeah. We're going to have our first set of residential students at our Bronxville campus this year. So Iona has a great story to tell, but it involves the 50,000 plus alumni that we have to continue to tell that story with us so that we can continue that momentum that we've had. We've grown new student enrollment over the last 5 years by about 40%. Freshman class in 2019 was like 640. We're consistently over 800, 850 this year. So that momentum is there, but it's our alumni that will continue to help us carry that. And so hopefully you guys all come back and see you at homecoming October. October. Yeah. 16th, 17th, 18th?
17th, October 17th.
Come early, stay late.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally correct on all those points. So let's end on a fun note, let's talk about what your favorite podcasts, movies, TV shows are.
I love the On the Rise podcast featuring Matt Ricker. Favorite podcast of all time.
I appreciate
Especially
that.
episode 7 featuring me. Let's see. Favorite movie. I love Rudy.
Yeah, that was a great story.
I love Rudy. So yeah, it's my I am a movie star. So having been featured in Rudy, I love a lot of them. I like comedies. I like to laugh.
Yeah.
Most people know I'm fairly lighthearted. So I love a good comedy. I used to love the TV show The Office when it was on. I like to think of myself as a well-refined Michael Scott. I love the books that I love. There's a few books. There's an author named Tom Coyne, sports writer. He wrote a book called A Course Called Ireland. So many people know I'm a proud Irish American, and this tied together two of my favorite things, golf and Ireland. And it's a really cool story because he walked the entire coastline of Ireland and played all the links courses along the coasts.
Wow.
Carrying his clubs in his bag all through this like multi-month journey around Ireland. But at the same time, he shares some really funny stories about the bed and breakfasts he's staying in, his first experience with Paddy's Irish Whiskey, which if you've ever had a first experience with Paddy's Irish Whiskey, you hope to not have a second. So it's just a really fun kind of story. Right now I'm reading a book called The 5 Types of Wealth, which is kind of a self-motivation book and things like that. So I'm enjoying that so far. Last year I read The Anxious Generation, which was eye-opening when you think about social media and technology and the digital revolution. I have a 9, soon to be 10-year-old daughter, so that's informing maybe how I guide her and parent her with access to things like that, because there's a lot of challenges that present with that, and we see that in our current students, right? So that was interesting. Living and Working with AI by Ethan Mollick was a great book. So I'm kind of broad in terms of my book interests. Favorite song, DJ Khaled, All I Do Is Win. So I don't know, very diverse interests, man.
Yeah.
Also love Frank Sinatra.
all great recommendations. Well, Kevin, thank you very much for joining me today on the Rise podcast, and I look forward to having you on again.
All right, next time we'll do it at the Beachmont.
Sounds all right. Thank you again, and thank you all for listening to On the Rise. I'm Matt Ricker. We'll see you next time.